It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind where the light filters through my old lace curtains and dances across the artifacts I've collected over a lifetime. My name is Irene Stanley. I'm 67, and I used to be someone who could spot a lie hidden in the brushstrokes of a painting. For 30 years, I worked at the Chicago Art Institute, curating exhibits, uncovering stories in every cracked canvas and faded sketch. But that day, sitting in my living room, surrounded by relics of a life I'd built with my own hands, I heard something that shattered my world. My daughter Layla forgot to hang up the phone. She'd called to check on me, her voice all honey and concern. "Mom, did you take your meds today?" she asked, like she always did lately. I said yes, set the phone down on the coffee table, and turned to water my begonias. That's when I heard it, her voice, low and careless. "Not meant for me. She's slipping fast. Wyatt," she said, "a few more weeks, and she won't even know her own name." Then, a laugh. His laugh. "Wyatt, my son-in-law, those pills are doing the trick," he said, "smug as you please. Once she's in Tranquil Haven, we'll get the house, the savings, everything signed over. She's halfway gone already." My hand froze on the watering can. The room tilted, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I'd given Layla everything: my youth, my heart, my name. I'd spent decades piecing together beauty from broken things, and now my own daughter was planning to erase me, like I was some dusty exhibit to be boxed up and forgotten. They didn't know I'd once caught a forged Monet with nothing but a magnifying glass and a hunch. They didn't know I'd kept a burner phone tucked away in a velvet-lined box from my museum days, just in case. And they sure as hell didn't know the woman they were trying to destroy had just woken up. I sat in the dark that night, the echo of their betrayal ringing in my ears like a cracked bell. My name is Irene Stanley, and this is the story of how I vanished and came back sharper than ever. But to understand how I got here, how my own daughter could laugh while plotting to steal my life, we need to go back to the choices I made, the sacrifices I carried, and the stubborn spark that refused to let me fade. To understand how I ended up sitting in the dark, listening to my daughter's laughter twist into a knife, you need to know who I was before. My name is Irene Stanley, and once upon a time, I was the woman who could walk into a room full of dusty artifacts and find the one story worth telling. For 30 years, I worked at the Chicago Art Institute, curating exhibits that brought history to life. I'd spend hours with a magnifying glass, tracing brushstrokes to spot a fake or unearthing a forgotten artist's signature. The Tribune once called me the detective of the art world after I caught a forged Degas sketch that had fooled everyone else. That was my life, finding truth in the details, piecing together beauty from fragments. But that life changed when I chose to raise Layla alone. Her father, my ex-husband Richard, walked out when she was 5, leaving me with a half-empty house, a stack of bills, and a little girl with big brown eyes who kept asking why Daddy didn't come home. He didn't just take his clothes, he took our savings, our shared dreams, and the network I'd built in the art world. When the divorce was finalized, I got the house, a rusty station wagon, and Layla. That was enough for me. I rebuilt from nothing. I took freelance curating jobs, working late nights at the kitchen table while Layla colored beside me, her crayons scratching out rainbows as I sketched exhibit layouts. Every penny went to her art classes when she showed a knack for drawing, summer camps when she begged to paint, therapy sessions when a bully at school broke her spirit. I was there for every tear, every triumph. I'd sit in the front row at her school art shows, clapping until my hands hurt, even when her paintings were just smudges of color. The irony is, mothers who give everything are the ones most easily forgotten. We're too steady, too present, too worn out to demand recognition. When Layla was 18, she got into troublous mall theft at the museum where I worked. A sketch, barely worth $100, but enough to ruin her college applications. She came to me crying, begging me to fix it. So I did. I convinced the curator it was a mistake, a mix-up, and I buried the incident under paperwork and promises. I never told her how much it cost me, my reputation with colleagues, the trust I'd spent years earning. I thought love meant shielding her from consequences. But Layla grew distant. College came and went, and the calls got shorter. "I'm fine, Mom," she'd say, her voice clipped, distracted. Holidays passed without air. First 1, then 2, then 5. I'd make excuses. She's building a life, chasing dreams. Then I heard through a friend that she'd married Wyatt Cole, a man I'd never met, no invitation, no phone call. I wasn't even a shadow in her new life. I told myself I didn't need to be. I had my garden, my walks along Lake Michigan, my shelves of art history books. I had quiet, which was easier to bear than the ache of hoping for a call that never came. I stopped checking my voicemail daily. I canceled the landline. The silence became a friend, predictable, safe. But 2 weeks before that phone call, the one that broke everything open, an email arrived. The sender's name stopped my heart, Layla Cole. The subject line read, "Can we visit? We want to reconnect." I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hands. The message was short, polite. "Dear Mom, I know it's been too long. Wyatt and I have been talking, and we'd love to see you. Life's too short for distance. Can we come by next week? Warmly, Layla." I read it 4 times, each word pressing against my chest like a bruise. I didn't know this woman, this Layla Cole, but she sounded kind, like the girl who used to hug me tight after a bad day. A spark flickered inside me, fragile but real. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. "You're welcome, anytime, Irene." My hands shook as I hit send. I told myself not to hope too much. People change. So do promises. But deep down, the part of me that still remembered the smell of Layla's crayons, the weight of her small hand in mine, ached to believe this was real. That maybe, just maybe, the years I'd poured into her still mattered. They arrived on a Tuesday morning. I'd dusted the shelves twice, rearranged the roses in the vase by the door, told myself it was just to be polite, but I wanted this to work. When the doorbell rang, my heart climbed into my throat. Layla stood there, taller than I remembered, her brown eyes softer but guarded. Wyatt was beside her, all charm and easy smiles, like a man who'd practiced, in front of a mirror. "Mom," Layla said, her voice tight, like she was holding something back. I couldn't speak, my throat too full. Wyatt stepped forward, his handshake firm. "It's an honor to meet you, Irene. Layla's told me so much." His voice was smooth, too smooth, like a painting with no flaws, beautiful, but wrong. I opened the door wider and let them in. Over the next few days, the house felt alive again. Layla laughed as she flipped through my old exhibit catalogs. Wyatt fixed a creaky step on the porch without being asked. They wanted to stay a while, they said, to reconnect. I nodded, my heart daring to hope. But I wasn't naive. I'd spent a lifetime spotting fakes, and something about their smiles, their careful kindness, felt like a canvas stretched too tight over a frame. For the first time in years, my house felt like it was breathing again. The silence I'd grown used to was replaced by Layla's laughter, the clink of Wyatt's coffee mug on the kitchen counter, the soft creak of floorboards under their steps. It was almost too perfect, like a painting hung just a fraction off-center. You don't notice at first. But once you do, you can't unsee it. I wanted to believe in this reunion, this chance to stitch back the years we'd lost, but I'd spent too long studying details to ignore the ones that didn't add up. Layla and Wyatt settled into the guest room, their suitcases lined neatly against the wall. Layla took to reorganizing my bookshelves, pulling out old exhibit catalogs, and flipping through them with a smile that felt rehearsed. "You did so much, Mom," she said, her fingers tracing the spine of a book on Renaissance art. "I forgot how incredible you were." Her words were warm, but they landed like a brushstroke, too heavy, too deliberate. Wyatt was worse. He'd fix things I hadn't asked him, to a loose hinge on the back gate, a flickering bulb in the hallway. He'd bring me tea in the evenings, chamomile with a splash of honey, just how I liked it. "You deserve to rest, Irene," he'd say, his smile so polished it could have been framed in a gallery. But his eyes never quite met mine, always darting to Layla or the floor, like he was reading from a script he hadn't memorized. At first, I let myself lean into it. I'd spent so many nights alone, staring at the empty chair across the dining table, that having them here felt like a gift. Layla would sit with me in the garden, clipping roses while we talked about nothing, weather, recipes, the neighbor's cat. Wyatt cooked dinners, simple things like pasta or grilled chicken, and we'd eat together, the 3 of us, like a family. I'd stopped dreaming of. But then, the changes started. Small at first, easy to dismiss. Layla replaced my old pill bottles with a bright plastic organizer color-coded by day. "It's easier this way, Mom," she said, her voice soft as velvet. "You've been forgetting things lately, haven't you?" I frowned, unsure. I'd misplaced my glasses once or twice, forgotten the name of a painting I used to lecture about, but I was 67. Age creeps in like dust on a canvas. It didn't mean I was losing myself. That then came the new prescription. I'd gone to grab my arthritis meds from the kitchen cabinet one morning and found a bottle I didn't recognize. Memoir, the label read, prescribed by a Dr. Kessler. The pills were small, pale green, not the beige capsules I'd taken for years. I turned the bottle over in my hand, the weight of it wrong, unfamiliar. I'd never heard of Dr. Kessler. My doctor was Dr. Friedman, a gruff old man who'd known me since Layla was in pigtails. Layla picked up your meds, Wyatt said when I asked, casual as if he were talking about the weather. She thought it'd save you the trip. I nodded, but something tightened in my chest, like a frame strung to taut. That night, I sat at my desk, the house quiet except for the hum of the radiator. I opened my laptop and searched for memoir. The results chilled me. It was a cognitive suppressant, used for advanced dementia, with side effects like confusion, memory gaps, disorientation. There was no mention of it being used for prevention, and it was never prescribed without a diagnosis. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. Why hadn't Dr. Friedman mentioned this? Why was a new doctor prescribing something I didn't need? And why did I feel so tired lately, like my thoughts were wading through fog? I'd wake up some mornings unsure if I'd locked the door the night before, or I'd stare at my coffee maker, trying to remember how to start it. I'd blamed age, stress, but now, I went to the drawer where I kept my medical files, tucked behind old exhibit notes. My fingers rifled through the folders until I found my prescription history. No memoir, no Dr. Kessler, nothing. I held the bottle again, staring at the label like it was a forged painting. The hairs on my arms stood up. A quiet warning, like the moment before a storm breaks. Then came the why tot. She's a friend, Layla said one afternoon, waving her hand like it was nothing. She works at a clinic downtown, offered to do a quick checkup. I don't remember agreeing, but suddenly, there was a woman in my living room. Her smile too bright, her questions too strange. What day is it, Irene? Can you name the last 3 presidents? Spell museum backward. My answers were slow, clumsy, my mind feeling like it was wrapped in cotton. She jotted notes, nodded to Layla, and left. That night, Layla sat with me as we watched an old black and white film, one of my favorites, about a stolen painting. You've carried so much alone, Mom, she said, her voice soft, disarming. You don't have to anymore. I smiled, but my stomach twisted. I'd spent a lifetime spotting fakes, and her kindness felt like a beautiful forgery, hiding something ugly underneath. A few days later, I found something that stopped me cold. I was tidying the guest room while Layla and Wyatt were out, and tucked in the pocket of Layla's coat was an old letter, one I'd written to her years ago. It was from the time of the museum theft, when she was 18. I fixed it, sweetheart. I'd written, no one will know. You're safe. I'd buried that mistake to protect her. But the letter had a post-it note attached in Layla's handwriting. Keep this. Leverage. My breath caught. Leverage, against me. The mother who'd sacrificed her reputation to save her. I slipped the letter back, my heart pounding like a drum. That was the moment I knew. Something was wrong, deeply, terribly wrong. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. I smiled when Layla asked if I'd taken my pills. I nodded when Wyatt suggested a new doctor's visit. I played the part of the grateful, aging mother they thought they could control. Because now I needed time. Time to uncover their plan, time to remember who I was. The moment I found that letter in Layla's coat, with her scrawled note, leverage, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was clarity, sharp as a blade. I'd spent 30 years at the Chicago Art Institute, spotting fakes in brushstrokes and signatures. I'd caught a forged ego with nothing but a hunch and a magnifying glass. If Layla and Wyatt thought they could paint over my life, they'd forgotten who I was. I wasn't just their mother or mother-in-law. I was Irene Stanley, and I was done being their canvas. That night, I didn't take the memoir pills. I stood over the kitchen sink, letting the faucet run to mask the sound, and flushed them one by one. The pale green capsules swirled down the drain like tiny lies dissolving. I replaced them with sugar pills I'd kept from an old exhibit on medical history. Tucking them into the bright organizer, Layla checked every morning. Then I waited, watching my own reflection in the window, willing my mind to sharpen. And it did. With every skipped dose, the fog lifted. I remembered where I'd parked my car, the name of the neighbor's cat, the exact shade of blue in a Monet I'd curated decades ago. I was coming back to myself, piece by piece, but I couldn't let them know, not yet. So I became an actress in my own home, a stage I'd designed with my own hands now turned into a trap. Each morning, I'd let my hands tremble as I poured coffee, spilling a little for effect. I'd stare at Layla with blank eyes when she asked what day it was, mumbling, Tuesday, or is it Friday? She'd smile, that syrupy smile, and pat my arm. It's okay, Mom, just a foggy day. Wyatt would nod, his eyes flickering with something like satisfaction. They thought I was fading, just as they'd planned. But I was working. My first step was evidence. I couldn't rely on instinct alone, not when Layla had that letter, that old secret I'd buried to protect her. I needed proof, something undeniable, something that would hold up when the time came. I started with what I knew best: precision, observation, concealment. In a drawer of old exhibit supplies, I found a tiny digital recorder, no bigger than a matchbox, from a project where I'd recorded oral histories for a folk art display. It still worked, its battery blinking to life, like an old friend. I waited until Layla left her purse on the kitchen counter, distracted by a phone call. With steady hands, I slipped the recorder into the inner lining, stitching it in place with a needle and thread from my sewing kit. She'd never notice. Next, I dug out an old webcam, one I'd used to monitor a rare manuscript exhibit years ago. I hid it behind a framed sketch in the living room, angled toward the kitchen where Layla and Wyatt had their hushed talks. I covered the light with black tape, blending it into the frame's shadow. Every night, I transferred the footage to a USB drive, small as a key, and hid it in a hollowed-out book on my shelf, a catalog of 19th-century watercolors. I'd always loved hiding things in plain sight. While they thought I was unraveling, I was weaving a net. I needed more than recordings, though. I needed to know who they really were. So I reached out to Helen, a former colleague from the museum, now a private investigator with a knack for digging up secrets. We'd worked together on a case years ago, catching an art dealer who'd sold fakes to half of Chicago's elite. Helen hadn't changed, still sharp, still skeptical, still drinking coffee black as ink. Irene, she said when I called her on my burner phone, tucked away in that velvet-lined box from my museum days. If you're calling me, something's burning. It's worse, I said, my voice low. It's my daughter and her husband. I told her everything, the pills, the fake doctor, the letter with leverage scrawled on it. Helen didn't interrupt. She just listened, her silence heavy with understanding. Give me names, addresses, anything you've got, she said. I slid a folder of notes under our usual diner booth the next day, paid for with cash. Start with Wyatt, I told her. Something's off. For the next few days, I played my part. I'd fumble with the TV remote, ask Layla the same question twice, let my voice waver when Wyatt suggested a new doctor. Dr. Kessler's the best, he said one morning, stirring sugar into my tea. He's up on the latest treatments. Dr. Friedman's a bit outdated, don't you think? Dr. Friedman knows me, I said, sharper than I meant to. Wyatt raised his hands, all innocence. Just a consult, Irene. No harm in it. Layla chimed in from the sink, drying dishes. Dr. Kessler's helped so many people your age. It's just to keep you sharp. I nodded, slow and uncertain, but inside, my mind was racing. A week later, they set up a virtual visit with this Dr. Kessler. Layla handled everything: the laptop, the questions, even reading his instructions aloud. He says, "Memorize cutting edge," she told me, her voice smooth as glass, gentle but effective. Gentle. That's not what I felt. My thoughts drifted like leaves in a slow river. I'd walk into the kitchen and forget why. I'd stare at my own hands, wondering if I'd already washed them. But I wasn't taking the pills anymore, so why was I still foggy? I started to wonder if it was more than just the memorative. They were slipping something else into my tea, my food. Then Helen called. I took the burner phone to the attic, hiding among boxes of old exhibit programs. "You were right about Wyatt," she said. "No preamble. He's no saint. Got fired from an art auction house 3 years ago for skimming funds. He's in debt up to his eyeballs, gambling, bad investments, and Layla, she's got a record, Irene. That theft you covered up at the museum. It wasn't her first. She was questioned in a similar case at college, but you got her out of that one too." My jaw tightened. "And now, she's using it against you. Helen said. I found emails. She's kept every document from that theft your letter, the curator's report. She's threatening to expose you if you don't play along. Closed my eyes, the attic's musty air pressing against me. Layla wasn't just stealing my future. She was using my past, the love I'd shown her, as a weapon. What's the plan? I asked. We flipped the script, Helen said. Keep playing dumb. Keep recording. I'll dig deeper. We need something they can't deny. That night, I sat in my bedroom, the house quiet except for the distant murmur of Layla and Wyatt in the kitchen. I opened the watercolor catalog, checked the USB drive, and smiled. The recorder in Layla's purse was still running. The camera behind the sketch was still watching. They thought they were painting my end, but I was curating theirs. Every day I played my part. I felt the noose tightening. Layla and Wyatt were so sure of themselves, their voices lighter now, their smiles wider, as if they could already taste their victory. But I was no longer the woman they thought they could erase. I was Irene Stanley, the one who'd once spotted a fake signature on a canvas from across a room, and I was ready to show them just how sharp I still was. For days, I leaned into the act. I'd shuffle through the house, letting my hands shake as I reached for a glass. I'd ask Layla what year it was, my voice quivering just enough to sell the lie. "Oh, Mom," she'd say, her eyes gleaming with false pity. "You're just tired. Let's get you to bed." Wyatt would nod, his jaw tight, like he was holding back a smirk. They thought I was unraveling, exactly as they'd planned. But behind my vacant stares, I was building a case. The recorder in Layla's purse caught every whispered conversation. The camera behind the sketch in the living room captured their late-night talks over wine, plotting how to transfer my house to a shell company. The USB drive, hidden in my watercolor catalog, held it all, every word, every lie. And Helen, my old friend from the museum, was closing in. She'd found a paper trail, Wyatt's debts, Layla's shady history, even a forged Power V document with my signature scrawled in a hand that wasn't mine. One morning, Wyatt brought up Tranquil Haven again. "It's a beautiful place, Irene," he said, stirring cream into my coffee. "Gardens, art classes, people your age, you'd love it." Layla nodded, rubbing my shoulder. "It's just a visit, Mom, a wellness check." I wanted to scream, to throw the coffee in their faces, but I smiled instead, weak and wobbly. "That sounds nice," I murmured, my voice barely a whisper. That night, I pushed harder. I stood in the hallway, clutching a photo of Layla as a child, mumbling nonsense about her father coming home. "Richard, where's my sketchbook?" I asked, my eyes wide, unfocused. Layla caught my arm, her grip a little too tight. "Let's get you to bed, Mom," she said, her voice soft but sharp at the edges. The next day, they were giddy. I overheard Layla in the kitchen, whispering to Wyatt, "She's ready. It's time." My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank, my hands folded in my lap. They were moving faster now, and I had to be ready. Helen called that afternoon on my burner phone, her voice urgent. "They're planning to sign commitment papers tomorrow," she said. "Tranquil Haven's prepping a bed. Layla's already drafting an evaluation claiming you're a danger to yourself." I swallowed hard. "Do we have enough?" "More than enough," Helen said. "I got a tech guy to pull deleted emails from Wyatt's account, one from Layla sent last week. She admits to using the old theft year cover-up to keep you quiet. Says if you fight back, she expose you, ruin your legacy. But we've got them, Irene. Just play along one more day." I nodded, though she couldn't see me. "I'm ready." The morning they came for me, the sky was gray, heavy with the promise of rain. Layla knocked on my door, her voice soft as a lullaby. "Mom, time to get up. We've got a little trip planned." "A trip?" I asked, rubbing my eyes, letting my voice crack. "Just a short stay," she said, smiling. "Somewhere peaceful." Downstairs, Wyatt waited, keys in hand, his face a mask of concern. "It's temporary, Irene. A nice room, activities, people to look after you." I froze on the staircase, clutching the banister. "I don't want to go," I whispered, tears welling up. Some of them were real. The fear, the betrayal, the weight of knowing my own daughter wanted to lock me away, cut deeper than I'd expected. "Please, don't make me." Layla stepped closer, her hand on my arm. "It's for your safety, Mom. You've been so confused lately." "I'm not confused," I said, my voice breaking. "I know what you're doing." Wyatt's eyes narrowed, just for a second, but he recovered fast. "We're not arguing, Irene. Let's go." They led me to the car like I was a child, my protests echoing in the driveway. I saw the neighbor peek out, then close her curtains. People always look away when the truth is too ugly. The ride to Tranquil Haven was silent, the city blurring past like a painting left out in the rain. At the facility, a woman in scrubs greeted us, Mrs. Larson, the intake coordinator. I understand Irene's been showing signs of confusion and agitation, she said, glancing at her clipboard. Layla nodded, her voice smooth as silk. She's been wandering, forgetting things. We're worried she's a danger to herself. I sat in a stiff chair, hands folded, eyes on the floor. Mrs. Larson turned to me. Irene, do you know where you are? I looked up, my voice clear as a bell. Yes, I'm at Tranquil Haven, and I'd like to speak to my attorney now. Layla's face froze. Wyatt's jaw dropped. What? He stammered. I said I want my lawyer, I repeated, standing tall, my shoulders square, and I'd like to report a crime. Layla laughed, a nervous, brittle sound. Don't listen to her. She's not herself. But Helen walked through the door, her gray coat flapping like a storm cloud, followed by 2 federal agents, badges gleaming. Step away from Miss Stanley, one of them said, his voice sharp. Wyatt stumbled back. This is a mistake. She's not well. Helen held up a phone and pressed play. Layla's voice filled the room, cold and clear. She's fading fast. The memoir's working. She signed the papers yesterday, didn't even blink. By next week, the house is ours. Wyatt's voice followed, smug. And the savings. The company's set up. She won't know a thing. Mrs. Larson's eyes widened, her clipboard forgotten. Layla lunged toward the desk, grabbing for a pen. She needs her meds. She's delusional. Enough. The second agent snapped, pulling her back. I reached into my purse and pulled out a sealed envelope. This is a certified psychological evaluation from Dr. Margaret Ellis, conducted last week. It confirms I'm in full cognitive health. No dementia, no decline. The agent took the file, scanned it, and nodded. That's all we need. Layla's face crumpled, her charm dissolving like paint under thinner. Wyatt just stared, his mouth open, as if the script he'd memorized had burned to ash. The agents cuffed them both, their voices steady as they read the charges. Attempted elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy to commit medical malpractice. As they were led away, Layla turned to me, her eyes desperate. Mom, please. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. In that moment, I wasn't the victim they'd tried to make me. I was Irene Stanley, the woman who'd once uncovered truths hidden in shadows, and I'd just painted their downfall with their own lies. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee. Its silence heavy as the judge read the verdict. Layla stood rigid, her face stripped of the charm she'd worn like a mask. Wyatt, in a suit that didn't hide the cuffs on his wrists, stared at the floor. Layla Stanley, the judge said, his voice steady, for fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, and administering unauthorized substances. This court sentences you to 18 years in federal prison. Layla's gasp echoed, sharp and broken. Wyatt Cole, for your role in financial exploitation and conspiracy, 15 years. The gavel fell, final as a locked door. I sat in the front row, flanked by Helen and 2 prosecutors, my hands folded in my lap. I didn't cry. I'd done my grieving long ago, in the quiet nights when I realized my daughter saw me as a means to an end. As they were led away, Layla's eyes met mine, pleading for something: forgiveness, understanding, maybe just a glance. I gave her nothing. Some doors, once closed, stay shut. Outside, reporters swarmed the steps, their questions buzzing like flies. Ms. Stanley, do you feel justice was served? Will you forgive your daughter? I walked past, my silence louder than their shouts. Back home, in the house I'd fought to keep, I sat in my study, surrounded by shelves of art books and memories. Helen handed me a file, her usual gruff smile, softer now. One last thing, she said. Layla tried this before. In college, she was linked to a scam, selling fake art prints. You got her out of that mess too. They never had enough evidence. Now, I closed the file, my fingers steady. Now they do. That evening, I opened the drawer where I kept my old will, the one that named Layla as my sole heir. I'd written it years ago, when I still believed love could outweigh betrayal. I carried it to the fireplace, struck a match, and watched the paper curl into ash. No tears, no hesitation. Some legacies aren't passed down, they're built anew. 3 years later, My name was etched on a glass door downtown. Stanley Legacy Network. We opened on a crisp autumn day, the leaves falling like a promise of renewal. The organization had one mission: to protect and empower elders facing abuse, especially from those who wore the face of family. The calls started. Slowly, a retired teacher in Ohio whose son drained her savings, a widow in Texas whose nephew faked her medical records. Each story was a mirror, reflecting my own. Each one lit a fire in me. One evening, as rain tapped the office windows, the hotline rang. I answered, my voice calm. Stanley Legacy Network, this is Irene. A trembling voice came through. My son says I'm losing it. He's taken my bank cards. I feel so lost. You're not lost, I said, my words firm. You're being manipulated, and we're going to help you. I spent an hour guiding her to a lawyer in her town, promising we'd follow up. As I hung up, Helen appeared in the doorway, holding 2 mugs of tea. You ever get tired? She asked, her grin sly. Only when I stop, I said, smiling back. Then came the twist I hadn't seen coming. A woman walked into our office the next week, her face familiar but older, lined with regret. Irene, she said, I worked with Layla at the museum during that theft. I was the one who helped her take the sketch. My breath caught. She'd been a young intern, barely a footnote in my memory. I'm so sorry, she continued. I want to help now, to make it right. She stayed, volunteering, sharing her story to warn others. And in that moment, I saw it clearly. The past doesn't define us, but it can light the way forward. On the 3rd anniversary of the network, I sat on a TV set, the camera's red light blinking. The host leaned forward. Irene, what do you say to those too afraid to speak up? I looked into the lens, thinking of the pills, the fake smiles, the letter marked leverage. I thought of the years I'd stayed silent, afraid of being dismissed. Then I spoke. We are not fragile. We are not fading. We are simply unheard. And now, we're shouting. The truth is, abuse doesn't start with cruelty. It starts with doubt, with silence, with the slow theft of your voice. But you are never too old, never too tired, to reclaim it. Speak, someone will listen. And if they don't, keep shouting until they do.